The first topic that we are going to see is declaration merging. So what is declaration merging here? In declaration merging, it's a unique feature that we can say provided only by the TypeScript here. It will not be, you will not be able to figure this out in any other scripting or maybe any other programming which is well known. In declaration merging, what you can do, you can declare the same class or declare the same interface at two different places with the same name. And when the compilation will happen, the TypeScript compiler will treat all these declaration together and it will be treated as one single one. Let's say you're creating the interface one and then writing few of the variables in that and the function declarations, and again creating the same interface one at some other places and giving extra properties in that and extra some function declaration. But when the compilation will happen, as the name of the both interfaces is same, it will be combined and treated as one single interface in the JavaScript file. So this is in combination with the JavaScript feature, the TypeScript try to use this, and at different level we can do the declaration merging. Declaration merging, you can just see this particular table at what are all the level the declaration merging can happen and at what particular scope. So let's say here it is giving the namespace declaration can be merged together on the namespace level here. The value of that also is possible. After that, for the class, we can perform the declaration merging on type level only. Type level, but not on the namespace level. We can also do for the value level. For enum also, we can go with the type as well as value. For interface also, we can go with the type analysis also we can go. But for function, we can go on the value level declaration merging. So this is somewhat the advanced behavior of the TypeScript for the declaration merging. So in next lecture, we'll just see one of the examples with interfaces and classes and enum or type analysis, how the declaration merging is possible within one namespace. We'll start understanding declaration merging with interfaces. So let's try to create a quick example here for the declaration merging with interfaces. So I'll just create an interface called bank account here that we have done earlier. Let's say this bank account is having account number as a number, and we'll also need account name here with of type string. Perfect. And what I can do here, I can just create a object out of it by specifying I'm going to follow the interface bank account for my data type. And as the bank account interface is saying, you must have the account name and the number. I'll give the respective values to it and complete the definition. Perfect. So everything is working very much fine here. We are having an interface. We are having an object created with the type of interface bank account. So if I create one more interface here like this, so let me just comment out this first. Let me add a multi-line comment. Okay, so I'm going to create one more interface here and I want to specify count balance here. The type is string. And you can observe the same one I'm giving here, the interface name. The both interface are exactly having the same name, but having their different declarations in that. So what will happen in this case? So I'll just take a pause for a minute so that you can think on it. What will happen? So here, will it give us any error that the duplicate interface name something like that, or will it work? So you can just try it around. I'll take a pause for a minute so that you can do it. Let's try doing it together. So let me just uncomment this here and see. Very first thing, what we have observed here, line number 8, it's not complaining about anything. It is allowing a interface declaration with the same name which is already available on line number 3. So it's perfectly allowed here, and this is what we call as declaration merging performed by TypeScript compiler. So it is having a two different interfaces with the same name. So what the TypeScript compiler is doing in background, it is combining these two declarations together and considering it as one single interface. So that's compiler is doing in background for us, and that's what the unique feature provided by the TypeScript for us. And here, if you see line number 12, it started complaining that this object creation is not following all the declarations given by bank account. And that's of course true, because right now only the number and name is not sufficient. You also need to give the balance here. So let's give here, and even if you hover your cursor, it will very clearly tell you the balance is remaining here. So let's add the balance. Super perfect. And if you see now, everything is working fine, and this is acting like a single interface. And what happening in background, let's also try to understand that this is what happening in the background. This we have written, so in background the compiler is getting converted these two interfaces like this, which is of course is a pretty simple one that we have done earlier. Let's try to play around it in more detail. So let's say in the second one, we are having an account balance. So if I again mention this account name here in the second one, what will happen? So my question to you is, if I'm using the account name again in the second declaration that generally the TypeScript compiler merged together, if I give again the same property in that, what will happen? I'll just take a pause on this so that you can think. Hope you got your answers. So let me just uncomment this. Okay, very first thing, the TypeScript compiler is not complaining anything. And here is also everything fine. It means that if there are any duplications, it will just simply ignore it. And this is what the TypeScript behavior at the time of declaration merging. We're just trying to understand how the declaration merging in will happen in background in detail. So, okay, so we have learned like if there are duplicate, it will just ignore it. So let me just remove this scenario for now and add functions so that we can also confirm the functions will also get merged inside the interface, the function declaration. So I'm specifying one more property here called debit. And in this property, I'm trying to give the declaration of the function here. So the debit should have a functionality which accepts some input called amount, which is of type number. And this function will not return anything. So return type, I'm mentioning void here. This is just a declaration if you clearly observe it. It's not any definition, it's just a declaration. Let's do the same here. And for the credit property I'm adding here, some input will be there of number, and again the return type we want to keep it as void to keep it simple. So both are having one function. So of course when the declaration merging will happen, both declaration will come at one interface. And here the object creation started complaining. What it is saying? It is saying that you must perform the definition for debit and the credit, which is made compulsory by the bank account because you're following the bank account standards here. That's very perfect. So let's do that. So I want to create a function called debit, which is accepting an input called amount, and it will have some certain behavior. So let's log and say debit successful. Just a dummy message we would like to print here. And again, the same thing should happen for credit as well. And as soon as we do for credit, so the object creation should be successful, and the now object creation is successful. So even though you are missing with one, it won't happen. Now we are following all the things given in the declaration of bank account interface. So this is how, if there are two different functions, both will get combined. Again, the same thing. Let's say if I'm making a duplicate for this function here. So it's still the same behavior that we have seen in the previous one. But let's understand with a bit more example here. So the debit can happen with one input. So the debit function is having here with only one input. If I give the multiple input here and here the single input, what will happen? So these all scenarios you can keep trying and exploring what will happen, because these all are the advanced behaviors that you might learn in a new scenario with that. And of course, it's an optional module, so it's not much necessary to go in detail, but it will help you to if you want to understand the compilation behavior in much more details. So here we'll take a pause, and next declaration merging we'll see in the next lecture. I'll just drop this code in the resource of this particular lecture so that you can download it if you want to give it a try. And again, of course, it's an optional one, so you can also leave it. Let's understand the declaration merging with enums here. So let's create a quick example here for the enums. And here we'll say we'll use the enum for like HTTP status. And instead of HTTP status here, I would like to use something else like error codes, because we want to have some automatic number initialization for the error codes here and to understand some more advanced behavior with declaration merging of the enum. So let's say this is the first error. I'll just keep giving the name like first, then second, and instead of numbers, more specific, what we can say like array, then class. So instead of class, okay, class, and the next area is regarding uh, the index. Okay, that's fine. So we are having the three here, and let me just do a console of error code dot array. So this is just the first error code that we are giving, and we know by default 0, 1, 2, 3 will be assigned. And if you just see the outcome here, so we should be getting that. If we are having some difficulties here, let me see if any code is remaining here. We should get this 0 here, but we are getting some unexpected point here. I guess the compilation is having some issue. Let me just make sure the recompilation is happening very well. Okay, fine. I need to turn on the TypeScript watch. Perfect. Okay, we are getting the 0. Then if I go keep seeing the next error code. Okay, so this error is regarding array, this error is regarding class, whatever it could be. So we are getting 0, 1, 2 that we know. So let's understand one important behavior here, and let's say in the one more declaration we are doing for the error codes here. Very first thing we should observe, same like interface, it is not giving any error at line number 8, that duplicate identifier. It is giving some error over here that we'll see separately, but the first one we should understand, the declaration merging is allowed for enums as a type. Okay, then next is showing some error at line number 9. So here I'll take a pause for a minute so that you can think on it, why exactly it's giving error here. And if you just hover your cursor, it will also give you the very clear reason for this. And we have also seen how to solve this problem, how to give the initialization for the enum proper enum values here so that this error will be resolved. So you should be able to solve this, and then we'll try solving it together. I'll just take a pause for a minute here. Let's try to do it together. So what happens by default? It's giving 0, 1. Why? Because it's a default initializer. The same is happening over here for index as well. But if you hover your cursor, it will very clearly tell you in an enum with multiple declaration, only one declaration can omit initializer for the first enum element. Very clearly it is saying that by default, these values will be assigned with 0, 1. When you are doing that, what's happening for this particular line number 9 also, it is giving equal to 0. So it is not correct to have a 0 error code for array as well and for the index. So it is against the rules of the enums. Each and every value inside your enum must be unique so that we can perform the necessary operation based upon that uniqueness. But in this case, it is failing to do that. And this is what the default initialization will be done by the compiler. So if I just remove this, it will again start showing you the problem. And here is we can use the initialization from our side. So let's say I'm giving the error code 1 here, this is error code 2, and here I'm giving the error code 3. In this case, we will not get any issues. And let's try to see it will give you the very correct enum values. 1, 2, 3. Very perfect. In the similar way, we can also use the string related types. Let's make it array. Let's make it class here as a string, like make it as index. So it will also work super correct. So one quick question to you guys, if I remove the declaration part, the initialization part for line number 9 for this particular enum value, what will happen? What will be the value at line number 14? I'll just take a quick pause so that you can do it and try on your own. Let's see what happens. So I'll just remove this, and what will be the value over here for index? It is giving 0. So if you just omit this declaration here, so by default we are pretty sure what will happen to this index. So it will just 0 1 2 like this, and that's the reason we are getting index equals to 0. In the previous case that we have learned, so we have given here 0, then 0 1 we are giving, for example, and here it is not complaining because maybe it's taking some value. But what will be the value in this case? Because 0 we are already using it, so will it start taking any other value apart from 0? So let's see the outcome. It's again taking the 0. So this is what the issues we are having with the declaration merging. So when you are performing the declaration merging in any case, so please make sure you will be giving all the initializers for your enum values, because in this case both array and the indexes are having the 0 value inside it, which is not correct for any enum. So hope you understand how the declaration merging will work in detail for the enum.